The Supreme Court refused to hear a case challenging New York's rent stabilization laws, which limit how much landlords can charge in rent and how much they can raise their rates each year.
The decision left landlords in New York disappointed, and its implications are being felt all the way here in California. CBS 8's Rocia de la Fe joins us in studio tonight with how this impacts Californians. Rocia.
Yeah, and while this case deals with New York's rent and eviction control laws, the California Apartment Association says that many cities in our state have similar laws, and the Supreme Court's decision to not take up the case could influence how these laws are interpreted and enforced. Meanwhile, rent control supporters say the court's decision is a victory for tenants' rights.
In a blow to landlords, the Supreme Court has refused to hear New York property owners who hope to overturn the state's rent stabilization laws. The laws limit landlords from raising rent on nearly 1 million apartments. Rent control critics claim the laws violate the Constitution's takings clause, which protects against the government taking property without just compensation by forcing them to cap prices and limiting their ability to evict tenants.
You lost control of the access to the property as well as how much you can charge for the use of the property.
Alan Pentico is the executive director at the Southern California Rental Housing Association and says the court's decision is disappointing.
They're not right.
Pentico says the court's decision impacts landlords across the nation, including here in California.
In California, you have numerous jurisdictions that have had rent control for years. San Francisco, Santa Monica, LA, Oakland, Berkeley, Pasadena, Alameda, Beverly Hills recently.
However, rent control advocates say these laws are necessary to protect renters from getting priced out of their homes.
All these policies do is say you cannot jack up the rent.
Leah Simon Weisberg is the legal director for the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment Action and says she celebrates the court's decision.
The Supreme Court has once again said, look, this is a policy that is completely legitimate. It's pretty clear that the Supreme Court thinks that rent control is just a mainstream regulatory policy, and they've once again said, yes, it's allowed.
Simon Weisberg says the laws don't violate due process.
They're trying to argue that it's a physical taking. If the government does a physical taking, the government's gone too far and has taken all the value and must reimburse. If it's a regulatory taking, which is what rent control is, then you only have a right to a reasonable return on your investment.
Now, despite the court's decision to not hear the case, Justice Clarence Thomas did say that the court might reconsider the issue at a future date, offering some hope for rent control critics.